Lieutenant Jessica Martinez glared at the empty coffee mug on her desk, then at the 3 Kravix cubs huddled in the corner of the engineering bay. Their purple fur was fluffed up in what their species considered an apologetic posture, but their 6 eyes darted nervously between her and the door. "You drank my coffee," she said flatly. The smallest cub, barely reaching her knee, chittered something that the translator rendered as, "We thought it was waste disposal liquid." It was black and smelled of death. Jessica pinched the bridge of her nose. She'd been awake for 36 hours straight, nursing the aging fusion reactor through a plasma cascade that should have vaporized the entire ship. The horizon's edge was a diplomatic vessel carrying representatives from 14 species to the Galactic Council's emergency summit. When the reactors started failing halfway through their jump, she'd been the only engineer aboard who could keep them alive. And now these diplomatic offspring had consumed her last precious cup of coffee. "Chief Martinez," came Captain Reynolds' voice over the intercom, "we need you on the bridge. The Kravix delegation is concerned about their children." "They should be," Jessica muttered, but she was already moving. The cubs scrambled after her, their clawed feet clicking on the metal deck plates. On the bridge, Ambassador Thexlar towered over Captain Reynolds, all 3 meters of scaled bulk radiating parental fury. "Where are my cubs? What has your predator done to them?" "Your cubs," Jessica said, stepping onto the bridge with the 3 youngsters trailing behind her, "are fine. Though they've committed a grave offense against humanity." The ambassador's translator struggled with her tone. "Grave offense? They are children. They drank my coffee." Silence fell across the bridge. The Velcrin navigator's antennae drooped. The Celian communications officer's chromatophores flashed warning colors. Even Captain Reynolds took a step back. "Chief," the captain said carefully, "perhaps we can replicate." "The replicator's been offline since the cascade," Jessica interrupted. "That was the last of my emergency supply. Real coffee. From Earth. From my family's farm in Colombia." Ambassador Thexlar's defensive posture softened slightly. "I do not understand. It is merely a beverage. We have many nutritional supplements." "It's not about nutrition," Jessica said, and something in her voice made the cubs press against their parents' legs. "It's about keeping this ship running. Do you know what I've been doing for the last day and a half? I've been manually balancing plasma flows, rerouting coolant through jury-rigged conduits, and recalibrating the magnetic containment field every 40 minutes to keep us from becoming a very expensive firework." She walked to the engineering console and pulled up the reactor diagnostics. "See this? We're running on fumes. The automated systems are fried. Everything is manual. Everything requires constant attention, constant calculation, constant vigilance." "Surely you can rest," the Velcrin navigator suggested. "We have other engineers who don't understand human engineering philosophy," Jessica cut in. "Your people build redundancy on redundancy. Fail-safes and backups for backups. But humans? We build ships that dance on the edge of catastrophe, because that's where efficiency lives. This reactor is running at 130% of its recommended capacity right now. Any other species engineer would have shut it down and waited for rescue." She pulled up another screen showing the timeline. "But rescue is 6 days away. We have enough life support for 4, maybe 5 days at reduced capacity. So I've been pushing, compensating, finding every spare erg of energy in this system." Captain Reynolds studied her with concern. "Jessica, you need to sleep. We can cold bunk some personnel, reduce." "I've done the math, Captain. We need every system running to keep environmental stable for all our guests. And I can keep this reactor singing, but I need to be sharp. I need to be focused." She turned back to Ambassador Thexlar. "That's what the coffee was for. It's not just a beverage. It's a chemical edge. It's the difference between catching a plasma fluctuation before it cascades and watching the containment field collapse. It's what keeps a human engineer operational when their body is screaming for rest. The smallest cub made a soft, distressed sound. We did not know. We have harmed the ship mother. Jessica's expression softened slightly. I'm not your ship mother, kid. I'm just the engineer. But you protect us, the cub insisted. You keep the heart of the ship beating. Our parent says the heart is failing, but you will not let it stop. That is what ship mothers do. Ambassador Thexlar looked at Jessica with new understanding. In our culture, the ship mother is the one who tends the vessel's core. It is the highest honor. My cubs have inadvertently damaged the ship mother's medicine. It's not medicine exactly, Jessica started, but the ambassador was already gesturing to an aide. We carry stimulants for our crew during crisis periods. They are not the same as your coffee, but perhaps. Ambassador, I appreciate the offer, but alien stimulants and human biochemistry don't always mix well. Then perhaps, Captain Reynolds interjected, we approach this differently. Chief, what do you need to keep going? Jessica pulled up the reactor readouts again, her mind already calculating. 4 hours of sleep in the next 12. Someone to monitor these 3 readings and alert me if they drift outside these parameters. And she looked at the cubs, an idea forming. And 3 assistants with small hands and good fine motor control. The cubs perked up immediately. We can help the ship mother. Over the next several hours, Jessica discovered that young Kroviks were surprisingly good at calibrating micro-adjustments in tight spaces. Their natural dexterity and small size allowed them to reach components she'd been struggling to access. Under her careful supervision, they became extensions of her will, making adjustments while she monitored and directed. She taught them to read the displays, to understand what the numbers meant. They learned quickly, their young minds absorbing the patterns of energy flow and system balance. When she finally allowed herself to sleep, curled in her chair with alarms set, she found the cubs had arranged themselves around her station, standing watch. The horizon's edge made it to the rendezvous point with life support at 89% efficiency and the reactor still purring along at 135% capacity. The rescue ship's engineering team boarded expecting to find a dying vessel, but instead found systems running hot but stable, maintained by an exhausted human and 3 determined cubs. When Ambassador Thexlar prepared to leave with the rest of the diplomatic delegation, the cubs refused to go until Jessica accepted their formal apology. A small plant cutting from their homeworld that, their parent explained, produced beans that could be roasted and brewed into a stimulating beverage. It won't be coffee, the ambassador said, but perhaps, ship mother, it will serve. Jessica took the cutting carefully, a smile finally breaking through her exhaustion. You know what? I think it'll do just fine. As she watched the diplomatic shuttle depart, Captain Reynolds stood beside her. You ran my ship at 200% capacity on spite alone, didn't you? Jessica grinned, still holding the plant. Spite, determination, and the knowledge that somewhere out there, there's a universe that thinks humans are fragile. I couldn't let 3 kids prove them right. Humanity, fuck yeah, the captain offered. Humanity, fuck yeah, Jessica agreed, already planning where in her quarters the coffee plant would get the best light.